Boeing is facing its first worker strike in 16 years. And as if that weren't enough, the company just announced it will shut down its US-based production and shift operations overseas. This isn't just a minor bump in the road, it's a dramatic turning point in the nation's industrial and economic landscape, rattling bond markets and reigniting concerns over President Trump's trade policies. It all started with a quiet email on May 7, 2025, that sent shockwaves through Boeing's headquarters in Chicago. The subject? Ryanair withdrawal. That email signaled a major concern for Boeing. It meant that Europe's largest low-cost airline, one of their biggest clients, wasn't going to take any new deliveries. Why? Not due to safety or performance issues, but strictly because of price, specifically tariffs, and the blame squarely landed on the White House. Later, a letter leaked to the media highlighted how Trump's recent tariffs had disrupted their agreement. Ryanair was clear. If costs didn't change, deliveries would be put on hold. And that was just the first effect. By noon, 3 other airlines followed suit with their own announcements. A major Turkish airline wanted to reassess prices. Another Latin American client decided to delay payments. And an African state-owned airline paused all new talks due to price uncertainties caused by U.S. economic policies. Inside Boeing's corporate offices, panic was starting to spread. This wasn't just speculation. Trump's trade war was hitting hard. A 25% tariff on all aircraft-related components and a staggering 145% on goods imported from China emerged without any warning. Not even Boeing's strongest allies were ready for the aerospace sector to be included in this mess. CEO Kelly Ortberg, who had previously underestimated the situation, suddenly found himself at the center of a full-blown crisis. Just a few months ago, he expressed confidence in Boeing's resilience under Trump's policies, believing they would mainly hurt foreign competitors. But that optimism quickly faded as the tariffs wreaked havoc on Boeing's operations. When the tariffs rolled out, they weren't exactly targeted. They were pretty sweeping. And when the European Union caught wind of this, they hit back hard, rolling out a $100 billion retaliation list that included Boeing's passenger jets. These civil aircraft, once thought to be too crucial to touch, suddenly found themselves in the crosshairs. Before we dive deeper, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to back the channel. Boeing's leadership jumped into action right away. They held an emergency board meeting and started reaching out to Congress to request an exemption. The stakes were high. Boeing warned lawmakers that the tariffs could cost them over $3 billion in lost orders by year's end. But Boeing wasn't alone in this fight. Major U.S. airlines like United, FedEx, and Alaska Airlines were also calling their representatives for help. They knew if Boeing faced higher taxes in Europe, it wouldn't just impact the company. Jet prices would soar, ticket costs would climb, cargo rates would skyrocket, and airlines might start leaning towards Airbus as an alternative. That was a serious concern, not just about tariffs, but about losing market share entirely. Meanwhile, Boeing's supply chain started to unravel. Small suppliers in Canada stopped shipments after a steep 25% tariff on landing gear assemblies. A German avionics company paused production while waiting for clarity on tariff rules, and a Japanese electronics supplier backed out of a long-term contract due to unstable commercial terms. In the Carolinas, Boeing's Dreamliner plant began stockpiling inventory, fearing a logistics freeze. Engineers in Wichita were instructed to pinpoint components at risk of tariffs and look for US-based substitutes, many of which simply didn't exist. In the meantime, Airbus executives were making moves. Reports came in that Emirates had quietly reopened discussions about adding more A350s to their fleet, and Air India, which had been in talks with Boeing for wide-body jets, was now asking both manufacturers for updated pricing options. The message was stark. Boeing was in a precarious position. But the ramifications of the tariffs reached beyond just economics. They had political implications too. France and Germany openly labeled the US tariffs as economic sabotage. The European Commission stated that if a deal wasn't struck by July, Boeing jets would face retaliatory duties of up to 25%. This meant airlines purchasing from Boeing would either have to pay higher prices or pressure Boeing to absorb those costs, which were significant. Internally, Boeing estimated that the average hit per aircraft would be around $3 million. On a 100-jet order, that's a staggering amount to consider. Boeing is in a tough spot right now, facing a staggering loss of $300 million. And there's no sign that the administration is going to change the tariffs that are causing this damage. Trade officials have told Boeing's lobbyists that American businesses need to adapt, but that's easier said than done. The rare earth elements that are crucial for flight control systems, electronics, and jet engines are no longer accessible due to China's export restrictions. Without these materials, production is slowing down, and in some cases, it's coming to a halt. Meanwhile, competitors are taking advantage of this situation. China's Comac is offering significant discounts, and Brazil's Embraer is stepping back into the market, especially in Africa and South America, despite struggling with a past merger with Boeing. Even Airbus, long seen as a rival, has stepped in, issuing a joint statement urging both the US and EU to ease tariffs to prevent further harm to the aviation sector. But it seems the situation is already deteriorating. At Boeing's Renton plant, overtime hours have been slashed, hiring has been frozen, and suppliers are facing canceled contracts. One supplier told Bloomberg, "We've worked with Boeing for 30 years, but if this keeps up, we'll go bankrupt." Inside Boeing, there's a divide among executives. Some believe cutting prices is vital to keep contracts, while others push back, insisting on holding the line and seeking exemptions from tariffs. It's a challenging balancing act, trying to protect shareholder value while navigating this political storm. Congress hasn't offered any solutions either. A Senate bill aimed at exempting civil aircraft from tariffs missed the mark by just 3 votes. House Republicans from manufacturing states are urging Trump to lift the aerospace tariffs, but the White House has responded by threatening to double the tariffs if Congress intervenes. By May 7th, the situation intensified. Ryanair scrapped its next 3 deliveries altogether, while Delta quietly paused its 2026 procurement plans. Lufthansa is even delaying its wide-body orders until the tariff issues are sorted out. What started as a policy discussion has turned into a serious commercial crisis. At a closed-door meeting, Boeing's finance chief acknowledged that if these tariffs remain in place through the end of the year, total revenue could drop by 10%, with the possibility of that number doubling if China retaliates. One board member was particularly blunt, stating, "We are being sacrificed to make a point." Unfortunately, that point is leading to significant job losses across the U.S., with layoffs beginning to trickle in. 100 workers let go at a wing manufacturer in Texas, a cabin supplier in Arizona temporarily closing its doors, and a metal fabricator facing tough decisions in Missouri. Boeing is facing a tough time as they recently had to shut down 2 shifts within the company, reflecting significant struggles in the industry. In a press conference, President Trump made it clear that he believes they need to step up. "We are protecting American skies. If Boeing cannot adapt, someone else will." That someone is increasingly looking like Airbus, or even China's Comac. As Boeing struggles, customers are searching for reliability, and with ongoing tariff conflicts, Boeing's grip on the market is slipping. If this trend continues, the next big order might not come from Seattle, but from Shanghai. For the first time in decades, Boeing's leading position is in question, and that question remains unanswered.